Russia should face a military defeat. They should be forced to withdraw from the occupied areas, including Crimea. That would probably be end of Putin's time in power, and his successor would probably understand that fighting Ukraine supported by the West is a bad idea. Whatever happens in Ukraine, and the war hasn't gone too well for Russia. It's been going almost 3 years now, and Ukraine is still not conquered, and they don't have the capability to conquer the Ukraine. But that doesn't mean that Putin's ambitions have gone away. No, they haven't. And if the peace deal, which we might see this year, is something that gives Putin something. He can keep the 20% he's occupying now of Ukraine's area. He's not, Russia is not punished for its criminal activities. They don't have to pay any compensation for the damage they've done. There's no war criminals going to court. It will just empower him. It's easy for him to say that, well, I was right. Only thing I need to do is to wage a war a couple of years, sacrifice a couple 100,000 soldiers, and the weak West gives me what I want. So I got something, let's rebuild the army and repeat this. You shouldn't feed the dictators. We saw it in 1930s. It doesn't work. The appetite just grows the more you feed them.
Just interested in the light of you talking about dictators having this thirst to continue, how much of a threat do you think Putin actually poses militarily beyond Ukraine's borders?
Well, I'm not too worried about that. The Russian army and its land capabilities, army, marines, airborne forces, they are 90% of them are tied up in the fighting in Ukraine, and they are suffering huge losses all the time. The air force is in better condition, the navy is somewhat better condition, but still Russia don't have enough military force now to threaten West seriously with military force, and I don't think that they will have that in 5 years' time either.
So in terms of the way that the war should actually end, in order to, you were talking earlier about how Russia has to there has to be no caving into Russia, in your view. What kind of terms need to be there to make sure that any ambitions that Putin might have are thwarted?
Well, I think that Russia should face a military defeat. They should be forced to withdraw from the occupied areas, including Crimea. That would probably be end of Putin's time in power, and his successor would probably understand that fighting Ukraine supported by the West is a bad idea. Let's find somebody smaller to attack, and let West be. Russians understand only force and power. That's the negotiating with them from the position of weakness is never a good idea.
Just on another subject, Finland has closed its 830-mile border with Russia, and it did so in late 2023 because of the growing number of asylum seekers trying to cross the border into Finland. It accuses Russia of weaponizing migration. Why would it do it, and what kind of effect has it had on Finland?
Well, it's old Russian tactics. We saw that happen in 2015 against Norway and Finland. So in that retrospect, it's nothing new, except that they used a bit different border crossing points than previously. And what they are trying to do is multiple things. They try to burden the Finnish authorities. We have to put resources to guarding the border and prevent these kind of activities. They can use it in the info operations, trying to blame Finland breaking international agreements and not taking asylum seekers, etc. And they're also trying to create diversion within Finland between Finns about these issues, because we have a lot of people who think that, okay, we shouldn't do this because we should take all asylum seekers inside, even though these people are really not refugees, and people who think that no, we should close the border. And this dividing West, both the nations within the Western Europe, and then the Western European organizations, is all tactics. And when for example, when the aggression to attack the Ukraine started 22, Russia tried to divide Finns between those who support Ukraine and those who support Russia. Well, it didn't go too well, because 99.9% of Finns are supporting Ukraine in this case. So there's no division. But when you look, for example, Gaza, when the Gaza started, Russians started information operations to get those who are supporting Israel and those who are supporting Palestine to fight each other on social media and otherwise. And there, the groups were much more balanced. And this is the same kind of tactics. Let's divide Finns from inside.
And you were Finland's military attaché to Washington when Donald Trump was president the first time round. His imminent inauguration is already he's taking the credit for the Gaza-Israeli hostage peace deal. Is he going to be the president to end wars, do you think, as he would no doubt like to be known?
Well, I think that he will at least try, and which is, on the other hand, I think it's a good thing. There's been a lot of worries about here what happens. Will the United States start to discuss about peace in Ukraine over the Ukrainian heads and so on? But when you look at the people he has nominated for key positions, like a chief negotiator, the National Security Council advisor, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Defense, they all had quite hard attitudes towards Russia, saying that we shouldn't give everything to Putin, and if they are not being reasonable, we should use sanctions and military support to Ukraine to force Russians to be more reasonable, which is, I think, is a good sign. So we'll see what happens. But for sure, I think that the Trump administration will try to end the war in Europe, and they will take action on that.
And yet, when you look at the kind of things that the president-elect has been saying, he has suggested he would consider military action to take Greenland. Whatever your interpretation of the reality of his real intentions is there, it does, however, highlight a serious security concerns in the Arctic, doesn't it?
Yes. Many people got very worried about these talks, and I'm not too worried about it. Mr. Trump's negotiation tactics are a bit like Russian negotiation tactics. You demand impossible, then you double your demand, and in the end, if you get half what you demanded in the beginning, you're still a winner. And this is just a start on that. We have to remember that in the United States, presidents don't decide on peace and war. Congress does, and I highly doubt that Congress would give Trump permission to attack an ally with military force. It's not going to happen. It's just tactics and talks. I think there are two things. What is negative in this case, of course, that it creates some worry and friction within the NATO alliance, and it gives tools to Mr. Putin and President Xi, claiming that, well, it's okay for us to claim our neighboring countries' areas since the United States is demanding the same. The positive thing is that the United States is interested about Arctic and Arctic security, because 2016, when I was in Washington, D.C., and Trump was first-time president, nobody except the two senators from Alaska and the U.S. Coast Guard were interested about Arctic. And now it has changed totally, which is very good, because Arctic security is very important for all the Nordic countries too. And China and Russia are trying to both enroach and have a stronger position there.
I'm just interested to get your perspective when you were talking about making a demand, doubling it and maybe getting half of it in terms of Trump's kind of tactics. And specifically, he wants NATO members, or has said so, to spend 5% of GDP on defence and for Europe to do more for its own security generally. Does Finland welcome that kind of demand?
Definitely. Europe has been far too lax in these issues, and this has been going on for decades. It's not Trump in 2016 who came up with the demand that Europe should do more for its defense. Several previous American presidents have demanded the same, but nobody listened. The good thing with Trump's actions in the first term was that he got the Europeans to do something, and now it seems that we will have the same effect, and we need to do more. The border countries, currently the Nordic countries, Baltic states, and Poland are almost the only ones who are really taking real efforts to improve our defense, and we are starting to get a bit fed up with the bigger European countries who don't do their share. And if Trump as a president can force them to take action, that's a positive thing.
You've been watching Frontline for Times Radio with me, Kate Gerbeau. If you'd like to be the first to get exclusive content, you can sign up for membership with the link below. You can also listen to Times Radio for the latest news or read it on thetimes.com. My thanks to our producer today, Louis Sykes, and to you for watching. Bye for now.